Hi guys, so in this video today I'm going to talk about yarn fibers, as in what yarn is made out of. There are basically three categories of yarn fibers. There's animal fibers, such as wool, there's plant fibers, such as cotton, and then there's synthetic fibers, such as acrylic. So the first category I'm going to talk about is the animal fibers. So the most well-known animal fiber is wool, and it can get, people say it's scratchy and stuff, but the scratchiness of wool depends on what kind of sheep it came from and how it was processed. I found some very soft wools that I would love to have next to my skin, and I have touched some really scratchy wools that I would just never wear close to my skin and would be better for like a coat or jacket type of thing. Wool is extremely versatile yarn. It does felt unless you treat it chemically. And by felt, I mean that it will shrink 3 to 4 times smaller if you do wash it and agitate it with soap and water. So if you're a very new knitter or crocheter, I would say stay away from the wool because you basically need to hand wash them. And if you're going to spend so much time making something as a beginner and then you accidentally throw it in the dryer, it can be catastrophic to your emotional state. Also, when you make something for a friend and they throw it in the dryer, also catastrophic for your emotional state. So other examples of animal fibers would be mohair, angora, alpaca, cashmere, camel, silk. Mohair is from a goat, and that kind of fiber has lots of little tendrils coming off of it, as in it's kind of splitty. And it can make like a beautiful ethereal shawl, you know, something that just looks like it's made from fairy dust or fairy wings or like spider webs. The softest animal fiber that I think isn't silk, in my opinion, it's alpaca, which come from alpacas. Alpaca is one of like the softest yarns I've ever felt. It's softer than wool, but it doesn't have as much definition as a wool yarn has. And what I mean by that is that the alpaca yarn is just a little bit more delicate. I usually buy alpaca wool blends, so you get the softness of the alpaca with the durability of the wool. I've never used angora yarn or silk yarn or camel yarn, so I can't really talk about those very much. Silk yarn is extremely expensive, and that's just one of the reasons why I haven't used it yet. I do want to buy some eventually and make something pretty out of it, but just right now my budget can't really handle that. It's usually like $20, you know, for a small little skein of silk yarn. Cashmere is another animal yarn that's also very soft, and it's also very expensive as well, and I haven't used that one as well. So now we're going to move on to the plant-based fibers. And the plant-based fibers are cotton, linen, and bamboo. I've used both cotton, linen, and bamboo yarns. Cotton is just really great for washcloths, it's really great for like tops, and it's really great for summer and spring because it's very light and very breathable and not heavy like wool. The plant-based fibers are also really good if you're vegan and you don't want to work with any sort of animal fiber. Bamboo yarn is one of the softest plant-based yarns. It's extremely soft, it's heavenly. I've bought a lot of like bamboo cotton blends. One thing you do need to know about cotton, 100% cotton, is that it doesn't have any stretch in it. And what I mean is, you know, on the ribbing of a hat, how it will stretch, and when you pull the hat off, it'll go back in place. Cotton doesn't have that, which is usually why you will see cotton and acrylic blends, because the acrylic will add some stretch to the cotton yarn, or even cotton and wool blends. I've seen that sometimes too. Linen yarn is another one of the really great yarns for summer and spring. It's a little bit more coarse. I would say it's the coarsest yarn in the plant family. It feels the most like a mixture between like really fine wool. It doesn't really have that much stretch to it by itself if it's 100% linen, but it is one of those really great fibers. It's also one of the more expensive ones too. The last kind of yarn fiber is synthetic fibers, and these are man-made fibers. So we have acrylic, polyester, nylon, and rayon. And nylon and rayon are usually added to another fiber to add stretch, like they're added to cotton or they're added to something else. You don't usually see those by themselves. Acrylic yarn is like the #1 yarn you can find anywhere. It's plastic. It's yarn made out of plastic. It's also the one that I would say if you're a beginner you should start with, because usually you can launder these, you can dry them on low heat. They are kind of hard to destroy. If you're giving a gift, I would probably say give it in acrylic. That way you know it's hyperallergenic, not going to break someone out with a wool allergy. The person can wash and launder it and not worry about ruining it. As to what kind of fiber works better for what kind of project, I'm honestly still discovering that myself. I like acrylic and wool for hats, but that's just my own personal preference. I'm not allergic to wool. I find it very warm and snuggly and amazing. But I hope this video has helped you understand more about what kind of yarn fibers there are. And in my next video, I'm going to try to discuss yarn weights, as in fingering weight, worsted weight. So leave me a question if I left something out, and generally if you're a beginner, what I would do is either ask the person whose project you're making what kind of yarn they would suggest, if they haven't already put that in the pattern. Usually each pattern comes with a suggested type of yarn and needle size and gauge, and that can really help you out as you're exploring different kinds of yarns before you've learned by using a lot of them. Because I didn't really learn by watching a video. I learned by buying lots of different types of yarns, trying to make lots of different types of things, and learning what worked and what didn't work. Because I remember the first hat I tried to make out of cotton, and it doesn't stay on your head. I tried to use 100% dishy cotton from Walmart, which is supposed to be for dishcloths, and I was like, hey, I'll make this into a hat. And it doesn't stretch or cling to your head, and I was like, what? I did something wrong. And it turned out I just used the wrong kind of fiber for the project. So yeah, have a great day, and thanks for watching. Bye.